You're watching Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to giving you the inside scoop on what's happening on the lakes and waterways of our region, with a primary focus on Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend. Your host, V&M Baits General Manager Kevin Jean and Camus Boats Pro Staffer Steve Graff. Two guys with years of tournament experience with Pro-Am circuits like ABA, BFLs, Toyota Series, and BASS Opens. Anglers willing to share their knowledge and to give you inside information to make you a better angler. So get ready to take some notes and learn exactly how anglers are catching the big stringers right here on Tackle Talk Live. Here are your hosts, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
This is Tackle Talk Live. We're glad to have you today here on July 25th, a show dedicated to helping you catch more fish with our primary focus on Toledo Bend, Sam Rayburn. I'm Camus Boats Pro Staffer Steve Graff, along with V&M General Manager down there in Lafayette, Louisiana, Kevin Jean. And Kevin, today it's a special edition of Tackle Talk Live. You know, a lot of people have been wondering where we've been, what have we been doing. I thought people kind of knew. We kind of take the summer off just because there's not much going on, especially July and August. There's just nothing going on. So, but anyway, we are coming back in September for a few weeks in September to kind of cover the fall tournaments, Kevin, as you and I have both talked about. And but today, though, the special edition, Kev, we've got a really good guy that knows his stuff and is one of the most, well, he's a former engineer, graduate of Texas A&M. That's all you need to know. If you want to question his intelligence, this guy knows his stuff. We got Brian Branum coming on today.
Yeah, you know, Brian's got some insight, Steve. He's on the water on Sam Rayburn every day of kind of what's, you know, there's 100 rumors going around on Sam Rayburn, just like they are in Toledo Bend when things happen around the dam. Kind of what's going on, how far, you know, how low they're going to drop. Like, we're going to get specific details. We're going to get answers today that a lot of people are commenting, questioning on, and kind of guessing on. But we're going to hear it from Brian today. Who knows, who has the inside source there. We're going to find out exactly what's going on in Sam Rayburn, when, how, and how far it's going to draw down.
Yeah, and another thing Brian wants to talk to us about today is kind of warn people the danger areas of Sam Rayburn. Actually, he's actually got GPS coordinates, but he's not giving those details on our show today, but he's going to tell you where you can go, that Brian has posted those himself, and he'll give you that information and where you can find those and link up to it and drop those waypoints in your unit so you'll know when you get those danger areas on Sam Rayburn. Brian's done his homework, and I'm looking forward to, we're both looking forward to having him on today. We got lake reports. We'll give you Toledo Bend levels and Sam Rayburn, kind of let you know exactly where it's at as of this morning. And so we got all this and more today on Tackle Talk Live. We're going to take one short break to recognize a few of our sponsors. When we return, we'll hear from Sam Rayburn guide Brian Branum. You're watching Tackle Talk Live.
Toledo Health is a full-service primary and acute care clinic. Nurse practitioners Jarrett Rule and Melissa Vines bring quality health care that's needed and convenient to the area. Whether it's a stomach virus or a hook in your hand, Toledo Healthcare will try and meet all your healthcare needs. Appointments available and walk-ins are always welcome. So the next time you're feeling down at Toledo Bend, stop by Toledo Healthcare, located on Highway 6 just south of Toledo Town, or you can call 318-508-5323. For all your boating needs, check out Shreveport's newest marine dealer, The Boat Shop. Raymond Kidd and his great staff will take care of all your engine repair needs or anything else that needs fixing. A certified Yamaha Mercury dealer, they carry two of the best fishing boats on the market from Sea Arc and Camus. The Boat Shop is never short on trade-ins, as they're always willing and able to make you the best deal possible. Looking for great boat accessories? They're a full support Garment and Minn Kota dealer. So the next time you're in the market for a new or used boat, or maybe you just need to service the boat you have, let the Boat Shop fix you up. To learn more, call 318-402-0399 or go to ShreveportBoatShop.com. The next time you're on I-49 just south of Natchitoches, Louisiana, stop by Cypress Knee Outdoors. A store within a store, Cypress Knee is located inside 3J's 4-Way. Whether you need gas, food, or drinks, they have it. While you're there, check out Cypress Knee Outdoors and pick up whatever hunting or fishing tackle you need. Top name brands like Strike King, Santone, Spro, or the #1 soft plastics made, V&M. On the hunting side, they carry guns from Mossberg, Winchester, and Remington. Plus, they've got a great supply of ammunition. Let John Abram and his staff show you everything Cypress Knee has to offer. Located just 1 mile east of 127 on I-49, or call 318-238-HUNT. You're watching Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to making you a better angler. Now back to the guys with all the inside scoop, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
This is Tackle Talk Live. Thank you for tuning us in today. Again, I'm Raymond Camus Boats Pro Staffer Steve Graff, along with V&M General Manager Kevin Jean, and this segment presented by Toledo Health, the Boat Shop, 3J's 4-Way, home of Cypress Knee Outdoors, exit 127 off I-49. If you haven't stopped in there, do so, because it's a great place to shop for all your fishing and hunting needs. Special guest today, we've got on the phone with us right now, Sam Rayburn guide Brian Branum. And Brian, hey, welcome to the program, dude. We're glad to have you, and we're looking forward to some good information you're fixing to give us about the Sam Rayburn Drawdown.
How y'all doing, man?
We're doing great.
Yeah, just looking forward to visiting with you a little bit about lake levels over here.
Well, I guess let's just start off with give us a brief overview of why the lake is being drawn down.
Well, there's been a lot of conjecture and rumors going around about Lake Drawdown for, a year, I'd say. Sometimes that starts when you see a lot of rocks piled around down by the dam being stored, or materials or work people hanging around or something. But there is a statement out now. It can easily be found online just by searching Lake Sam Rayburn Drawdown or something like that, 2023. And it's a statement from the Corps that there is work required on the dam. It's significant work. The plan involves replacing rock or adding, retaining rock for the east side of the dam, approximately 1/3 of the running length of the dam, which probably close to a mile and a half. 1/3 of that. So, that a significant amount of work needs to be done. In the statement, you'll find that they also talk about doing work around the lake that they can while it's being brought down for that primary purpose. That would include boat ramps, dredging on the north end for access at some of those boat ramps, any kind of other retainage or bridge work. And they give a time frame that says next 12 months. Now, this is about a month ago, but it seems logical that it's starting now. And I've heard that, as soon as some work is completed down here at Dam B, which is virtually finished, and they start filling, they get that facility back up and running, and be sure the work that's been done down there is effective, and get a okay from the Corps on that dam, which is directly below our lake, Lake Steinhagen, B.A. Steinhagen. It's also called Dam B. Right now it's down to the river level, and they'll raise it about 5 or 6 feet, and make sure all that work is, the integrity of that work is checked. They'll start lowering this lake a little bit quicker, I believe, although we're seeing a steady drop right now. It's 162 and a half right now, a little bit less. That's 2 feet low plus. In the statement from the dam, they say they're going to maintain a level of 158 for a reasonable period of time. And given the description of work that needs to be done, it'll take a little while to get that completed. So I expect the lake will be down for a while when they start. And as you can imagine, depending on rainfall and dehydration factors and just what kind of fall we have in winter, that 158 lake level's up to someone besides them as far as whether it drops further and how much trouble they have maintaining that level, given rainfall in the watershed, upstream, and even beyond that might flood the Natchez River. So there's some factors involved, but I see them getting this work done, if at all possible. I think they'll act as soon as they can, given that it's already down 2 feet. Their aim is to get it down another 4 before even beginning the work. And the primary reason that this interests me and should interest your listeners is that it's been a pretty good while before our lake's been, let's say, 156 or below. And you certainly could get below one, even since it's been below 158. I mean, last summer we saw in the 158.5, 158.75 range, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a tremendous impact.
Is last year we saw 158 over there on Rayburn, but that was the low point when there was no rain or anything. They're going to draw it to 158. Then if we have a rough fall or, no rain coming in or something, that thing could really drop on down. Am I right?
There's no doubt about that. You can look at your annual rainfall on any kind of historical data, even, just your average almanac, and see that November and December are high rainfall months. They're second only to May, June, that area. But in those years in the past 10, we've had relatively low rainfall that time of year. If we don't have any Gulf disturbances or anything else that are lengthy, and this watershed's relatively small, we all know that. And if we don't have significant storm or rainfall, we could easily see mid 150s. I mean, that's the way it happened the last time. It was brought on by drought, but it just continued, and we got down there in the range where it was going to go over the Ebenezer Spillway. I mean, that was when it was high. I mean, we got down there where it was going to revert back to lower Natchez River Valley Authority in the 152 range. So, you always have those possibilities. I'm not trying to think catastrophically here, but when you're going to hold a lake level, like you say, at 158, chances of seeing lower than that are quite possible. Almost
so
sure.
Brian, right now, where we're at, when it gets down to that 158 range, like it did last year, what are the danger zones? What are the areas of the lake that, we don't need every single area, but just a general overview? The Black Forest and all that kind of stuff. We all know those typical areas, but are there some specific areas that we need to be careful, and maybe they're idle zones now instead of running zones?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll hit some highlights. I'm not gonna do too much. I'm not gonna mention too much about up north. North of the 147 bridge, as most everyone knows, is basically it's uncleared. Back in '64 when the lake was built, that it was 8 years of development on this lake in general, from planning stages to work. And there's a point at which it's bulldozed, and then there's a point at which, on the bottom that is, and then there's a point at which there's free growth timber for recreational fishermen and so forth. Now there's boat lanes up there, and there's tried and true areas that were cleared naturally. But what I would tell you is that up around, starting way up there at the North Marion's Ferry boat ramp, above that is, you're on your own no matter what. Below that, there are boat lanes and the river itself, but I have a number of 162.35, which sounds really specific, but that just happens to be the exact lake level when I did this survey some time ago, 15 years ago or something. And that's when I stopped running above Oh, there's a boat lane that goes from the 103 bridge about halfway to that Bee Tree Slough up there, and I quit running that boat lane at that point. Those big flats up there that lead to Marion's Ferry. That's where you can get really treacherous. Now, getting to that point, getting to the 103 boat bridge from the 147 bridge, that's a boat lane situation. I mean, there's huge boat lanes that are bulldozed all the way down to the surface, the water, the ground surface. So, you can still run that stuff if you know those boat lanes. You need to exercise more caution than normal. Watch for floaters in the boat lanes that might be hung up on the bottom on one end and so forth. But you can run the Ewing Cut, which is that main north boat lane that runs past Hanks Creek, Shirley Creek, on up past Odell and at the front of Duranzo. Somewhere around in there, you got to start being careful at that 162.5. And then beyond the 103 bridge, I use extreme caution at that point.
I wish
now
Texas
coming back down the lake.
I wish Texas Parks and Wildlife would take this opportunity with a lake going is to mark that boat road like they do at Toledo Bend. Boy, I wish they would mark those. That would make it so much easier for guys to get around.
That, but there's a lot of guys that don't want
that. Oh, I know that.
It would really be nice.
The general public
love
to have that.
It's a federal situation on money in that area. As you know, I worked at the Humphrey Pavilion for quite a few years, and that was a lot of contact with the Corps and involvement with programs with the Corps and so on. I don't see that happening. I asked the biggest, I'd say the most dangerous spot on this lake, and man, that's a big lake. But to me, everybody's got one, is the 196 road that goes underneath the lake across the Brooklyn Bottoms, also known as Easley Flats and whatnot up there. I mean, that entire concrete highway is still underwater except for they've blown out for the 5 creeks that go across there, Trout, Devil's Ford, so forth. And, I mean, here in the next foot, there's a concrete road that will hit your mid-engine if you're just running out across there, and you can't see anything. And it's a mile plus long, and it's just right there under the surface, and it's not marked. So, you can be running 50 miles an hour back there if you don't know about it and just run right into a concrete, basically, highway that's 9 inches under the water. So, and I've been first responder there out on the water before. I could hardly stand fishing up there when it was just like a mirror with that roadbed and knowing it's concrete. That's something that everyone needs to be aware of on their maps, to really know that. And people who don't have a GPS equipped boat with a map on it, man, just stay out of that area. There's really no way to safely navigate it when it gets low. It's a chore. It's a chore to fish around it safely when it's that close to the surface.
Yeah. What about that boat road in Mill Creek that runs all the way across?
Okay, at Mill Creek.
Yeah, the highway that's under the water over there by Mill Creek.
Yeah, that's not really going to be an issue that I know of. You're talking about the main crossing of the Bear Creek arm over there with the whole big bridge underwater and all that. The flats at Solly, the flats on the northeast side of that, which is Solly's Woods, which is 2 coves down from Mill Creek there. And kind of goes generally from north of Needmore back across to Solly's Woods. As far as I know, we've never been in trouble with anything out there for main lake navigation. It's 18 foot deep on the sides right now. There's some brush piles and whatnot that will stick up, and they'll be sticking up everywhere all over this lake here real soon. You'll just start seeing brush piles pop up like you can't even fathom. And when we get down there at 158, it's going to be something to see. I can't wait because there's more of that than ever.
Yeah.
Fantastic way to fish, by the way. Just going around fishing, even topwaters around.
Is it possible, as me and you have talked a little bit off the air, is it possible, Brian, that once they get this thing down, that they could even draw it down a lot further depending on what they find?
I hang out around the fish hatchery down there. Everybody knows Todd Driscoll and I are really close friends. We were fishing partners in tournaments there for a while before I stopped fishing competitively. And I talked to him a lot. Now, the fish hatchery personnel, the Texas Parks and Wildlife biologists, fisheries biologists, which that's what Todd is. He's head of that area in this part of the state, a large part of the state. And the Corps, they're all different entities, but they're close in contact about some things down there. And there's, the rumor mill, I hate being a part of the rumor mill, but I've heard quite a bit of talk about it might require is those 156 to actually do the last parts or major parts of this work or something like that. I mean, there has been some talk about the possibility of making that lake level 156 for a while. I hate being the one to say it out there, but I mean, I've heard it so much. And the 158 is flat out public, complete national news. So it's not like the Army to put stuff out there like this very often, but when they put out for bids, they're not doing the work themselves. When they put requests for bids for contractors that are qualified with them to do the work, you got to be on a list and meet certain qualifications to do work for the state or government. But they presented a request for bids for this work to outside contractors. So it became official right there. And 158 was the target and was released to the public. I've heard 156 is possible to try to maintain it there. And that's where I really was going to mention some stuff, whether you want to do that now or not, I don't know. And a moment ago, I stopped talking, I was going to say above the 147 bridge, you just need to stick to boat lanes, period. And even then be cautious. Up the Atoyac Arm, I'm not going to get into that, but you could even run into some shallow water up there, even in the boat lanes way up. So you just, one good thing though is those boat lanes are going to be obvious. The last time this happened, I was reminded from a long time before that what it looks like. And even though a lot of these trees are broken off or fell down in the lake since then, you're still going to see a pattern of tree lines and road beds and lots of other stuff that are good for both navigation and fishing. But from the navigation standpoint, it looks like a Formula One racetrack up there north. I mean, you just got a wall of trees on one side and a wall of trees on the other. So it's not going to be hard to navigate the boat lanes. Quite the opposite. It's going to be extremely easy to navigate the boat lanes at a certain level because they're just going to look like a lane right down through the trees when all the trees are stuck up, except for the ones that are missing, which are in the boat lane that's been removed.
Yeah.
And so that's a good time to mark lanes and really spend a little time out there. My message is more for people who have gotten into fishing in the past 10 years or so, or started to fish this lake in the past 10 years or so, moved to the area or started preferring fishing here or whatever. Those people are never going to have seen the lake as low as it's going to get, most likely, because you'd have to go back to 2011, almost 12 for that. And it's a whole different world out there when it's that low. So, except for just running around down here by the dam in the main throat of the lake, which is still some things to know, I'd be extremely cautious everywhere you go. A lot of people are going to see that they've been recreating, skiing, boating, and, whatever, right in the middle of just treacherous areas, right over the top of trees. So, and of course, I'm going to put some waypoints on my Facebook. I figure that's the most accessible area. In the next 24 hours, probably today, I've been working on it, that point out some of the most obvious places that I see people that don't know what's there. And some of that, it's time now. One of them goes from the front of Five Fingers over to almost to Westwood. Some of the locals refer to that as the Emerald Forest. I've just heard that recently. It's just a row of trees out there that are in 50 foot of water that come all the way to the surface. They go from a certain point out there in front of Five Fingers. I've got the farthest northeast one marked from when they were standing all the way out of the water a long time ago. And then I've got the farthest one on the south side marked, and I'm going to put those waypoints up on my Facebook, and that's under Brian Branum, Jasper. Can't miss it if you're looking on Facebook. A lot of y'all follow me already. I appreciate that. And when you get those two waypoints, you just put them in your unit under the same format they're listed. Make sure about that too. Make sure when you put them in your GPS that they read out in decimal minutes or whatever, decimal degrees, minutes, seconds. You need to change the format in your own unit before you enter them, or convert them before you put them in at the format that you use. Most of y'all understand that. And then don't run between those 2 points. It's a long way. It's 1.8 miles, I think. But if you drive across there right now, you'll be able to see trees in the water. It's amazing. I mean, if you put your troll motor out there at the far north one and start trolling toward Westwood, right out in the middle of this lake, not very far, a couple miles from the dam, 3 or 4 miles from the dam up there, see trees in the water that you could hit with your motor. Yeah. It's there now, right now. There's a couple of them I know right this second that are trolling motor link below the surface of the water. And they're in 56 feet of water.
Another area close to where you're at is that Powell Point. That flat comes way out there into the lake, and I had no idea when the lake was down 1 year like it's going down now. I had no clue that lake was that flat, came so far out there, and I was running through stumps, and I was like, I just held my breath. I couldn't believe the lake that flat came so far out.
And in those areas, when like anywhere around from Powell Park all the way around up to Coleman Point, past Coleman Bay, headed north, the only stumps really out there, except for one that was missed or something when they were building the lake, which is not very many, only stumps that are there, they were all bulldozed pretty much even with the surface of the land before they filled this lake. Yeah. But wave action and water movement, washing machine style, and hurricane force winds over last 20 years that I've been around here full time is enough to have washed the base of those stumps down 4 or 5 feet in some areas where there was loose ground on the top, like sand or something. So we've got stumps that are made from wind, erosion, and so forth over the past 60 years to where some of these shallow flats do have stumps on them. And they're gold mines for fishing, to me, and they're really big. And if we get low on those flats, the navigation will be affected by both the shallow water and these random stumps. Are literally cut off, but they're now sticking up over time. So that emerald forest that's north of the dam, and then everyone needs to know where the Black Forest starts. And then there's another critical area that's out in front of Beach Basin, and I probably see this one ignored more than anything other than that one right out in the middle of the lake out here. And I mean, I know, I'm not going to say names, but I know a couple of people personally who have hit the stumps that I'm talking about now out in the middle between Five Fingers and Westwood and at the front of each. I mean, I know seasoned fishermen who have not realized it was time to start going around, so to speak, and got very, very unlucky and hit one of them, a couple of them. Well, in Beach, you have to enter from the north side. I'm going to put a waypoint out there, and it's going to look like it's in the middle of the lake. But stumps run all the way from that waypoint to what most people would call Armadillo Island. That's the name on most maps. That's the island on the south entry of Beach Basin, over there by the bank, the large island.
And there was one out in the mouth of Five Fingers, pretty good ways out in the mouth. I know firsthand.
It's marked really, really well. There's a couple of big isolated stumps out there. Yeah. One at the mouth that you're talking about is on the south side on the mouth. It's been there for years. Right now it's got some rebar in it, some little flags and stuff on it. Occasionally someone will put a nose cone on there. About the only way you could get that one would be in foul weather or in the dark, but I'll go ahead and mark that one as well. Then there's a really big one that showed up here during a big storm a while back that's out there in the mouth of Coleman Bay. It's still moving around a little bit. I think it's been in the same exact location for about 3 or 4 months now. And then it did about a year in another spot, I guess. But it's huge. You won't miss that one. It's the only other one besides there's a leaning stump out there off Coleman Point. Most people have seen. But another thing, 156, that's kind of my point. And this is just way before it happens, if it does even. But if it gets down below 158, the main river out there, even south of, off of Coleman Bay, the entire main river can have an isolated tree on the bank. They're like soldiers that ran along the river a long time ago. And there's one here and there. I mean, out there off the end of that last Coleman Flat going north, where that great big tree I'm talking about, that floater is, and then there's an angled tree out there all by itself, the farthest out tree on one of those flats that you can see at this water level. It's just one tree out there that's angled. Well, where the river comes by that, there's kind of an S-bend. There's stumps, trees all along that S-bend. I guess they were hard to mine back in the day when they built the lake. They mined those trees and used them that were everywhere. They got them out of here on rail tracks that were temporary. This other Emerald Forest area, the reason they didn't get those between Five Fingers and Westwood was that was a really, really, really big kind of bog, mud bog, and it remained that way during the whole time they were trying to clear it, and they just couldn't do it. It would have been man work, and they just weren't prepared for it. So those stayed. For the longest time, they still stuck above the lake, and everyone just went around that stuff, but now they're broke off 4 or 5 feet under pool level. There's hundreds of them. Hundreds.
Real quick, Brian, any boat ramps? We're going to wrap this up. Any boat ramps that are closed? If it gets to 158, you won't be able to put in at some of these places, or are all ramps pretty much going to be open?
I think 158 leaves most. All the ramps that I know about, I'm primarily 147 bridge around the Buck Bay that I see all the time nowadays. I don't fish much above 147. I do some, but not too much. This is my area down here. St. Augustine fluctuates more than anywhere that I know about as far as open and closed from low water. Mill Creek will definitely be out of business sometime in that run. I would suspect there'll be dredging there. It needs it really bad, but you just won't be able to get away from the boat ramp. If you did put a boat in there, it'll be a foot deep. Mill Creek and St. Augustine. I'm sure I'm missing one or two, but those two are very volatile in low water.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other ramp that has damage right now, they'll be way more likely to close them when the water starts getting lower.
Right.
If they're,
but
if they're already washed
your major ramps, again, 158 it got down to 158 last year. We were good. Again, and what you're cautioning to, and what I'm thinking, we'll be fine to 158. We've kind of got accustomed to it, even the ones around here. But it's that they're going to. My concern is they're going to draw it to 158 themselves, and then Mother Nature most likely going into the fall, winter will affect that. And I can definitely see it getting much lower than 158 depending on our range hit.
Yeah, correct. It could happen. I mean, it could go either way. Mother Nature could ruin their plan to work on this dam in a heartbeat, because if we got too much rain in the watershed of the Nature's River, which is not especially our watershed, and it flooded south of here, they'll hold the water here. They're not going to let water go that's going to flood 40,000 houses and damage the saltwater barrier down there. So Mother Nature's in charge, but they're pretty adamant about getting this done, and that's why I think with a 2-foot head start, it's coming out pretty quick. I think as soon as Dam B's done, this is just my thinking. I'm around it a lot, and I think they'll, if I'm just trying to think like them as far as getting it done, they've got the materials here stockpiled, they got the bids out. I would think they're going to get after it pretty quick with a good head start now. That's my thinking.
Yeah.
All right.
They don't.
And Brian, all that information, the waypoints and everything will be on your Facebook page, Brian Branum.
Correct. I figure I'll have it done by this time tomorrow, completed. I'm going to call another friend of mine that has some kind of maps of that. He's helped a little bit with me on it, and he's done some work of his own, and I'll make sure people know where that is on my Facebook page. And you can find other low water stuff. And if you go back to 2011 on Google Earth on the time, learn to go back in time and look at the aerial pictures there, it's significantly lower than 158 in those photos, so you can get a good idea. But don't forget, the wind over the time since then to now, and the lake action moves the sand. You were talking about flats earlier and all that. I mean, you just got to watch for shallow water way out in the lake in a lot of places. And one last thing is the points I'm going to be putting on my Facebook are by no means intended to be a complete list. They're just the most catastrophic that I know of out in the middle of the lake, you know.
Yeah. All right.
They will be an issue.
All right. Brian, hey, man, we appreciate your input. Thanks for all the good information. Again, Brian's giving you the Facebook page, and he'll try to have that posted by tomorrow. So, Brian, thank you, man.
Most will be this evening.
Appreciate you coming on today.
Hey, thank y'all very much, and have a good one. I'm just concerned about a lot of people. We had a lot of mishaps last time. There was a lot of injuries and a lot of boats hurt. And I'm just trying to help do what I can, especially for the newer and the young fishermen, to not hit any outright problems that we can help, you know.
Hey, amen. We appreciate your help. Thank you, Brian.
Okay. See y'all later, Kevin.
All right.
Hi, Brian.
Lake Sam Rayburn guy, Brian Branum, and Brian gave you some good information there. Kevin, real quick, we're going to take a real quick break. We'll come back with some lake levels, wrap this up. Kevin and I give our viewpoint on what's going on, and when we return, we're going to take, again, a serious look at the lake levels between Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn. And so you're listening to Tackle Talk Live. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for the finest custom-built rods ever made? Then look no further than Pride Rods. Fishing rods built to last and made in Montgomery, Texas. Constructed by Mr. Billy Kistler with the finest Gary Loomis North Fork composite blanks available. They offer a complete line of both spinning and casting rods for both fresh and salt water. Pride Rods do more than pass the eye test. They excel in performance as well. Ask your local tackle dealer if they carry Pride Rods and pick one up and try it for yourself. You'll see why so many anglers are using Pride Rods. To learn more, go to priderods.com or call 832-418-6040. The next time you're headed for Toledo Bend or Sam Rayburn, stop by Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle. They have an awesome supply of everything you'll need to catch the big ones. Whether your trip calls for bass fishing, white perch tackle, catfish bait, or the ultimate fighting shiners, Keith's Tackle has you covered. Keith and former Elite Series pro Ben Matsubu also have the latest information on what, how, and where you need to be fishing on Sam Rayburn or the Bend. So for all your tackle needs, check out Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle, located just off Highway 21 on the Texas side of Toledo Bend, or call 409-625-0181. The Lakes Insurance Agency is an independent insurance agency that has been taking care of Texans' insurance needs for over 25 years, offering auto, homeowners, boat, RV, life, health, and commercial insurance. Owner Clark Moore is a local guide and tournament angler who understands your insurance needs and wants to be your go-to guy for all your insurance needs. For a free quote, give him a call and see why so many Texans trust the Lake Insurance Agency. Located at 805 Southeast Stalling Suite 3, Nacogdoches, Texas, or call 936-205-4467. You're watching Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to making you a better angler. Now back to the guys with all the inside scoop, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
You're watching Tackle Talk Live. This segment presented by Pride Rods, Keith Toledo Bend Tackle, on the Lakes Insurance of Nacogdoches, Texas. 2 locations, Broadus, Texas, on the lakes of Sam Rayburn and over in Nacogdoches. And thank you, one and all. I want to thank Brian Branum for coming on. Kevin gave you some good information there as to what's going on at Lake Sam Rayburn.
Yeah, he did, Stephen. And the main things he hit on was, hey, look, they're planning on drawing it down to 158. They've already drew it down 2 feet. Depending on Mother Nature, it's going to get there, and it's going to get there fast.
Yeah.
Most likely, they can't control Mother Nature, what happens. And And once they draw it to 158, depending on Mother Nature, nobody knows what's going to happen. So if or how low it is going to end up getting if we go with our watershed here. And it might not. We might get enough rain, Steve. It might not get below 158. We was at 158 last year. There was a few problems, guys not knowing where things are at. Again, as he was alluding to, if you don't know where things are at, 158 can be a problem. As long as you know where you're going, though, it's not a problem getting around at all. Everything's going to be fine. But once you start getting below 158, that is when there is some other problems that can come up. Main thing is keep an eye on the water level. If you're planning a trip through Sam Rayburn this fall, winter, keep an eye on the water level. Keep an eye on Brian Branum's Facebook page is an awesome place to go. I know Clint and Stacy do some things over at Outlaw Outdoors as well. We will share Brian's posts that he makes tonight with those GPS coordinates. We will share them on the Tackle Talk Live page here. So that way you can make sure if you can't find Brian, we'll make sure you get that information. Those GPS coordinates are very important. Those are things that are on the main lake. I think that will be very, very helpful for everyone that's going over.
And there is an app that I actually have on my phone for all you guys, anglers. If you're a water enthusiast and you're going to Rayburn or Toledo Bend or any of the Texas waterways, it's just called Lake Levels. I've got an app for it on my phone that's very accurate. I use it on all my tournaments, and it'll have all your Texas lakes on there. And you can go to every lake there is in the state of Texas and see exactly where the water is right now. So that's a great app to have. Just called Lake Levels is what it's called on my app. So speaking of lake levels, again, it's 162.24 at Rayburn. That's 2.16 feet low right now. 10-day loss have been 7.92 inches. They've been drawing it down, obviously, and 24-hour loss 1.08 inches. So it's a slow fall, but they are pulling it. And Kevin, Toledo Bend, what are you showing at Toledo Bend?
Oh, I don't have it pulled up, Steve.
That's what I got it right here. 170.07, so difference of 1.93 feet, basically 2 feet low.
Yeah, but just keeping 170 this time of year is huge for Toledo Bend.
Oh,
we're usually by now we're usually 168. To keep one, and they have kept 170, Steve, for months now. Yeah. So to be able to keep Toledo Bend at 170 right now is doing wonders. It's doing wonders for the grass. Toledo Bend is very healthy right now, and it's only getting healthier, Steve.
Yeah, especially with the evaporation rate with the 100-degree temperature days we're having right now. It is incredible. They've had a 10-day loss of 3.72 inches in 10 days. 24-hour loss has been 0.96. So, again, Toledo Bend holding its own right now. And who's to know? Who's to say? Can we may get a tropical system come through here in the next month and a half that could slow down the work at Sam Rayburn Dam? I meant to ask him how long a time period. We're looking at the end of September. They're going to have all this work done. Is it October? I don't know. But anyway, well,
it's going to take a while. I'm pretty sure they were talking, 6 months going to the end of the year. Having to keep that, having to keep it drawn down to the 158, 160 area, but for, till the end of the year, 6 months for sure. But, again, there's so much can go into that. I mean, if we get a hurricane or a weather system comes through here and, it could affect that and it could go into, the spring. I hope it doesn't. I hope they're able to get in, get out, get all that stuff done. But that way it doesn't affect anything going into the spring. I think we should be fine. As far as, they've already got that sucker drawn, again, as he alluded to, drawn down 2 feet, and that happened quick.
Yeah.
And it, drawing it down that quick, I'm kind of reading into it as Brian is, they're ready to start. They're ready. They've got all the materials there. They're ready to start the work. Get in, get out, and let's get through this, hopefully without having to keep it. If they don't have to keep it at 158 themselves or that long, better chances we are of it not having to go below 158.
Right. All right, Kevin, that's going to wrap us up. We got tournaments. September is when the championship start to take place. Kevin and I will return sometime in September. So, we'll.
First weekend. We're looking at first weekend of September coming back. We guys, we do this every year, and y'all been with us last. Hey, Steve, how long have we been doing it? 3 years now?
2 years?
3 years now. We've done this every year. We take July, August, and we took most of June off this year as well. It was just dead. Steve and I both being gone. Steve going, having to make a few trips to Houston. I've been on vacation and so on and so forth. We had to take a little bit more June off than we usually do. Take July and August off. There's just not enough for us to talk to you guys about. We don't want to have to come on here every week and make stuff up, or not make stuff up, have the same guys on. We want to cover tournaments. We want to cover fishing reports. A lot of you don't want to hear that right now. So coming up September, I know the BFL, matter of fact, is the last weekend in August, I think, over there on Sam Rayburn.
Yeah.
So we'll come up first week of September, kind of cover what we got coming up September, October, probably take November and December off like we normally do, come back hit wide open in January. So
there you go. There you go. That's what we'll do. All right. Well, let's go wrap us up for today. Thank you for tuning us in. Check us out on our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you listen to for podcasting. If you'd like to become a member of our sponsorship team, please message us on our Facebook page. Kevin will send out a detail packet as to exactly how you can become a member of our sponsorship team. For Kevin Jean, yours truly, Steve Graff, we thank you for watching. We'll see you first week of September with more Tackle Talk Live.